Hello, everybody. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and this is my colleague, Tracy Priest.
Hello, everybody.
And we're with The Road to Retail. On our podcast, Tracy and I hope to offer tips, insights, ideas, and examples for how small, emerging, and challenger CPG, consumer packaged goods, brands can build their business. Everything from determining if you're ready to grow, where to start, how to prove it online, how to go about securing distribution at a national retailer, driving your business with the end consumer, and how to go about finding an investor if that's important to you. The bottom line is, we would love to help you be successful by highlighting the many important factors that go into establishing and growing your brand.
Bruce and I have been working in CPG commercial operations for over 30 years, working on brands of all sizes. By commercial operations, we mean sales, marketing, trade marketing, new product development, broker and distributor management, new product development, brand M&A, and financing. As a part of our show, we bring our guests that are brand founders and leaders, agencies, Amazon specialists, sales agents, contract manufacturers, retailers, and investors to discuss their experiences and share their insights with the audience.
To keep up with the show, please subscribe to the Road to Retail podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Leave us a review and consider sharing the show with a friend or colleague that may benefit from the content. You can also check out our website to learn more at www.road2retail.com and follow The Road to Retail on LinkedIn. We would love to have you along for the ride.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Road to Retail, where we interview CPG friends and colleagues. And I'd like to welcome my friend Bruce. Good to see you, Bruce. How you doing today?
Tracy, how are you, my friend? It's always good to be seen and be on another episode of the show.
Absolutely. So tell our audience who we have today.
We have a first here on Road to Retail. We have our first medical professional. We have Dr. Alexandra Sowa. Alexandra, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, a couple of things. Alexandra is a doctor that's working in the field, touching on all the GLP-1s, and we'll get into that in a moment. She also has written a book called The Ozempic Revolution, available on Amazon and getting some serious kick-ass reviews. And she's also been quite popular on the media tour right now talking about the book. So Alexandra, we really appreciate your time coming on the show here today.
Thank you. I can and both can't believe that I'm the first doctor you've had on the podcast.
Well, you're the first one kind enough to agree to come on the show. So here we go. Luckily, your assistant said you had an opening in the schedule and she tricked you into coming on.
No.
So Alexandra, as we kick off here, why don't you just tell the audience a little bit about your background, your medical training, and then I'll let Tracy take us into today's discussion.
Yeah, so as you touched upon, I am an internist and obesity medicine specialist. I did my undergraduate at Johns Hopkins, my medical training at NYU, where I completed my internal medicine residency. In my residency, I identified that I wanted to be the kind of doctor that helped people prevent disease, not just treat end-stage disease. This was a little bit of a new way of thinking, and I didn't complete my training all too long ago, and so things have quickly evolved. I found the field of obesity medicine. It was very, very nascent, and when I realized that we had tools to help people through medications, lifestyle, behavioral management to really help lose weight that went far beyond the traditional eat less, exercise more, I was like, this is amazing, because I know that the root of the majority of chronic diseases in this country are tied to metabolic dysfunction and excess weight. So I found the field and I never looked back. I ended up opening my own medical practice that exclusively focused on metabolic health and obesity medicine. And through that practice, I was able to really practice on a deep level. I consider it a very holistic practice where it's not just medications, it's also how do you eat, how do you think, how do you change your behaviors. And I got to play around with some very interesting care models in which actually I have group medical visits and I teach people, really I put them through a mini med school in my practice. And through that way of caring for people, I really got to know the GLP-1 consumer in such a unique way that went far beyond the traditional doctor's office. And that's how I've landed here as founder of a CPG company for GLP-1 users.
Well, we're gonna get into that. Tracy, let's start going deep, baby.
All right. So obviously, as you mentioned, GLP-1 products are a very hot topic in our industry today. So explain to our audience in pretty layman terms, like
Yeah.
what are these products, what do they do, and what are the benefits, and then what are the side effects?
Yes. So GLP-1 medications are a class of drugs that incorporate things that we know to be Ozempic, Wegovy, and they're part of the drugs that are Zepbound and Mounjaro. And GLP-1 medications have actually been around since 2005. So they're not new. People are just now talking about them in the last few years. But we have been using them in medicine for quite a long time. So GLP-1 medications mimic a hormone that naturally occurs in the body, but they are on the thousands of times more effective than what our body naturally makes. And in this efficacy, we see tremendous weight loss, we see tremendous blood sugar control, and now beyond weight management, management of type 2 diabetes, we see just almost a never-ending list of things that it improves, from sleep apnea to bone health, osteoarthritis, kidney health, heart health, stroke prevention. Now we're seeing its use potentially in alcohol and drug abuse treatment, in dementia prevention. And we see this because GLP-1 receptors are all over our body. And so this drug is not just an appetite suppressant like drugs that we've had in the past to help in the weight management field. It's actually a whole body hormone. And so we see health improvements throughout.
That's awesome. And then what about side effects?
Yeah, I mean, that's my favorite thing to talk about, side effects of GLP-1 medication. So the way that these drugs work is they talk to the brain, they talk to the gut, and they talk to the pancreas. Those are the three big ways that they work. And in the gut, they slow down your gastric emptying system, your stomach and your intestines kind of slow down, and food sits there longer. And that actually signals to your brain that you're full, and it triggers a cascade of hormones. And that's one of the way it works. But that also leads to the majority of the side effects that people feel on these medications. So constipation. I'm not sure if that's ever been said on your podcast before. Diarrhea, nausea.
We're breaking new ground here, Alexandra.
Exactly. So the vast majority of users will experience GI side effects. And then people also feel things like fatigue. And that is a multifactorial. It has to do with the fact that people aren't eating as much, they're not drinking as much fluid. And then there are some other reasons that people feel fatigue that have to do with some slightly lower blood sugar. Also muscle loss, skin elasticity loss, hair loss. There are things that happen that we anticipate will happen on these drugs, and that need to, like, the consumer, the patient needs to kind of get ahead of them, know that they're coming. And I saw a big problem that the majority of people who, if they'd been on the meds before coming to me, or it was friends and family, people were like, no one told me about these things. And so they weren't prepared on how to deal with them. And I find that if most people know that they're coming, manage them, they can get through it and then ultimately be successful on the meds.
That's awesome. I love that. Love that.
Yeah. So Alexandra, given what you've told us about the GLP-1s, our audience is largely, there's many, owners, founders, leaders of these small emerging and challenger brands. Why don't you tell us what led you to develop the SoWell line of supplements that, I hope I phrased this properly, that work kind of in concert with the GLP-1s to offset some of these side effects. So what did you see? Tell us about that line, please.
In my practice, I noticed that in order to help people manage these side effects, and let me throw out one stat here that you'll love.
Sure.
Actually, up to 66% of users stop these medications by a year because of things like side effects. So if you're not, we didn't I didn't include this in the intro, but these medications are intended for long-term use. And so if you have to stop them prematurely because you don't feel well, you are not getting all of those amazing benefits that we talked about. And so I see this as a big public health problem, actually. And in my practice, because I've been writing these medications for over 10 years and saw so many patients, I realized that there was a cadence to the products that I was recommending. And I put together a little toolkit. But nothing out on the market was made specifically for GLP-1 users. So I never felt great about what I was recommending. So at its core, I was saying, okay, you really need electrolytes because you're not eating and drinking as much, and you really need salts to help pull water into the right parts of your body. Otherwise, you're going to feel fatigued. You need B6 for nausea. You need 3 types of fiber to help with both constipation and diarrhea. And you need to make sure you're getting an adequate protein, which is actually quite hard to do at the beginning of this journey because people's appetite is so suppressed. And so, there were other things I'd say, a probiotic, and you need a digestive enzyme. And there are about 16 things I was recommending, magnesium, all of these things that I knew that people needed to really keep their gut healthy and their whole body healthy and to minimize side effects. But what I was recommending, I was like, oh, I don't feel great about this. This has way too many carbs because remember, a lot of people on these medications are managing type 2 diabetes. There's added sugar that none of us need. There are artificial ingredients, sweeteners, colors. What I really found was that a lot of the products on the market didn't taste right to the GLP-1 user. So GLP-1, I told you that there are receptors all over the body. One of the places they are is on the tongue. And actually, your brain stops craving the same foods that it wanted before and is kind of disgusted by things that are too sweet, too salty, too much taste. And so a lot of my patients would say, I can't do that electrolyte. I can't do it. I loved it 2 years ago before this medication, but I can't do it now. And so it really sparked an idea that, hey, this consumer is growing and there's nothing made just for them. And so I'm going to make it. And that's how it came to be. So our SoWell product line at its core is a 3 product system that comes in stick packs that are made to go with you on the go and to minimize your side effects and maximize your GLP-1 journey. And through these 3 stick packs, you get in the appropriate amount of electrolytes, fiber, protein. And so it just sets you up for success from day one.
That's awesome. I love it. Love it. So talk to our audience, because obviously in the CPG world, product differentiation is really critical, mission critical. So talk to us about how your products are, different than maybe some other products that are on the.
Well, kind of the things that I was saying that were my trouble spot. I didn't feel good about recommending some of the legacy brands that were out there. And so our brand, core tenets, it is nothing artificial because we don't need to inflame our gut further. It's part of the reason that we have an obesity epidemic. So no fake flavors, no fake colors, no fake additives. Very important to us. We are low carb to no sugar. So that was also a core tenet to our brand. And everything that we've created is multi-use. So instead of needing 16 products, like I was originally recommending to my patients, you just need 3. So we have the probiotic baked in, we have the digestive enzyme baked in, we have the magnesium baked in, we have the B6 for nausea here. So we are a multi-use brand, and we are the only brand made specifically for the GLP-1 user. And some people ask, well, can anyone take it? And yes, you can. But part of my mission in these products was to create a brand that was just for the GLP-1 user. We've come a long way in destigmatizing the treatment of obesity, but we have a long way to go. And I don't want my patients or any patient out there on these medications to feel less than and kind of gross because they have to use products that were made for their grandma, right? And not made for them. I wanted, like, we put a lot of energy into packaging. I wanted this to feel like you didn't need to be ashamed of it. And that's part of this evolution of GLP-1s. 5 years ago, nobody would admit to being on these medications. And now people are proud. And I want you to take your stick packs, put it in your purse, and your friend to be like, oh, you take those? So do I. Not, why do you have Metamucil in your bag? Like, what's going on? And my patients used to scoop things into little baggies, and they would like be embarrassed when the protein in little bags to the airport, and they'd be like, the airport, they made sure it wasn't cocaine. And I'm like, oh gosh, we have to do something about this. So I put my protein into little stick packs, right? I want the user to just feel good. And I think that is part of our differentiation here. We are celebrating the unique needs and the unique experience of the GLP-1 user.
Love
So
that.
that's really interesting, and I also like the way that you've eliminated any potential risk with TSA, with the way
Yes, thank you.
you've
It's very
packaged your
important.
products. So in a moment, we're going to talk about distribution and selling platforms, but let's first talk about like the marketing vehicles. And we know that your line of products is new, and you and your team are really just getting going. But what marketing vehicles are you guys using to drive awareness and trial of the SoWell products? I mean, obviously, being an author of a new book hitting is helpful,
Yes.
and you've been on a bit of a media tour, which is helpful. But how are you going to kind of, I don't know what the right phrase is, continue the momentum, with marketing vehicles?
So right now when we came to market in August, we had a few vehicles and the book just came out. So that's been a little bit of a lag, but always my expertise and education in this field has been very, very helpful. And that education comes through my social media footprint. And it's something I'm leaning even more into now. People have so many questions about this journey on a GLP-1, and I set myself and our product line apart by being a true expert in the space. And so it takes a lot of work, I will be honest, to do that education on social media and to be present, but it's working for us. And so that's my plan moving forward, to do even more and more and more organic education, but then people come to find the brand. On that front, social, both paid and organic, has been very helpful to us. There is a beautiful community of content creators in this space that has really been responsible for so much of the acceptance of these medications. So again, a couple of years ago, even up to about 3 years ago, there was a very long education journey that I had to take a patient on to consider going on these medications. And now I have a wait list of 1,000 people, right? People are now coming saying, I want to be on this because I've seen all the benefits and I see people talking about it on social. And so that social ecosystem has really helped us spread the word because people are always looking to share and educate with their communities. We have also engaged in paid social engagement with specific accounts, and we're learning which creators do have that reach and which don't. And it is a little bit of a longer game, a longer play, but that has been working very well for us. And then finally, the other segment is just driving awareness at many parts of the funnel through paid ads. Meta has really been where we've put the majority of our budget. TikTok, interestingly, is a little complicated with these medications. I had a huge following, millions of views on my videos until TikTok decided to ban talk of these meds. And some sketchy suppliers can get through on platforms, but it's been a little bit of a longer entry onto TikTok. So Meta has been good to us and reaching consumers. And because people are so aware of these meds, there hasn't been such a long lead time on education. And so that's been good for us.
Well, a couple of things there that I heard that are really helpful. First off, your medical background gives you a ton of credibility. Then
Yes.
you're willing to invest the time to create this content social. And then, if I may, when you have successful outcomes with your patients, talk about a case study. I
Yeah,
mean,
Mhm.
people that are
sure.
happy with that outcome, I can't imagine how many people that they tell.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
does spread like that. And that's, again, coming back to this idea of packaging. I want people to be like, love sharing it, you know? I don't want them to be like, oh, I gotta hide this. I want them to be like, oh, look
Yeah.
at these pretty stick packs I have.
I love
Tracy?
that. So you kind of talked about our next topic about social media. So my question then is, I changed it a little bit, is how do you differentiate between you as a brand and then as the SoWell brand, because they're kind of synonymous. So when you're doing social media and things like that, are you promoting yourself as I'm the expert and here are my products, or I want you to try my, my brand?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think people will get very tired of you if you're just talking about selling something all the time. And that's not, that's really not in my nature either. Education is key. I
Right.
think I look to a couple of other physician brands for who've come before me who do it well. Samantha Ellis is a dermatologist who does it well with her line Prequel. It's a skincare line. Shannon Klingman of Lumi does it all well too. She's an OBGYN who started that line. And I think you need to give just general advice, but then you become the authority that people trust. And so there's a balance. And my brand exists separately from the Get So Well brand, but there's crossover. And it's a really good question because I have struggled with it a little bit because innately as doctors, we are not salespeople at all. And really, it's part of our ethos and education to not be that. And it's taken me a little bit of time and I'm still figuring out. I'm really crossing over into a different way of thinking about it. I am very, very proud to be the physician founder of this company. And some people question when doctors get involved in products, like, shouldn't you be agnostic? Well, why should I not be the one to create what I know this patient needs? And so I'm stepping more into that and really not being afraid to cross over the brands more. I kept them a little bit separate for a while and I realized why? Why? I am so proud to be here. I'm so proud to go next month and sit between a Lemmy and a Nestle. And I'm excited to go be the only doctor in the room when we talk about products for GLP-1 users. And I would hope that the consumer would get excited about that too.
I love that example. That's perfect.
I would actually think they'd prefer to listen to you, since you actually know how the body works and how these products work. So, Alexandra, right now, as a direct to consumer brand only, you know, what would you need to see in the marketplace before you and your team are, comfortable, say, listing on Amazon? Do you just want to continue to kind of fine tune your messaging and have complete control, or are you guys just too busy and you haven't gotten to it yet?
A little bit of both. So we actually aren't just D2C. We are in select retailers.
You are correct, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I apologize.
No. But we've been very careful in that relationship too. And Amazon has just been a little bit of a beast that we know we need a lot. We need to do it right when we get there. And we have not felt that we have the right, I'd say, kind of foundations yet. We're getting closer because I know I like to buy my replenishments on Amazon, right? Like that's what all the data shows. So you find it somewhere in store or on a website, and then you go to Amazon to rebuy. And so we know we need to get there. I think some of the fear has been making sure that now we're 6 months into this journey and that we really understand the life cycle of the consumer and of the product, and we have foundations. But anyone out there, if you want to get our brand on Amazon, please feel free to reach out because we are looking for the right team.
But we can probably help you with that at the end of this show.
Okay.
Absolutely. So we touched on briefly brick and mortar. So you mentioned that you have some brick and mortar distribution.
We do.
Tell our audience a little bit about how you picked those partners.
So I think it's really important to find partners who understand our product line. So what we weren't expecting, because we've never really done this before, is that all of our products exist in different categories. So one is hydration, one is digestive, and one is nutrition. And our brand needs to exist together on the shelf really to help the consumer. It could be separate, but it really does need to exist somewhere together. And that's been very important for us. And to have the retail partner who really is invested in the health of the consumer, and people go to that retailer because they are looking for healthy solutions. So we were very excited. Our first retail partner is Hy-Vee in the Midwest. And Hy-Vee why they were so good for us is because they really invest a lot in the health experience and invest in new ways of thinking about how to be a one-stop shop for the consumer for health. So not only is the pharmacy there, they have nutritionists, there are clinics, and they really embrace this idea of, oh, we have a product just for this consumer. And that's been great for us. We want to make sure, of course, like anyone who's getting into retail, that people can find your product, they can understand your product, that someone's directing them to the product if they're looking for it, and that you can have a good sell through. And so our goal is not just wide, rapid distribution, it is the right retail partners. And we have some great retail partners lined up for this year too.
Well, Hy-Vee's a great account, so
Yeah.
that's a really good
And
first choice.
and I applaud you because I've worked with Hy-Vee before, and those nutritionists that sit in that store are just that's just perfect to explain your product, where it is, what it does, etc.
Exactly.
Well,
They really think differently, and they have been great partners for us.
Well, and my comment will lead into Tracy's next topic with you, Alexandra. But I also tip my hat to you guys for having the self-control to not overextend yourself. And we've seen brands, they outrun their cash, they outrun their supply chain,
Yeah.
they get into too many retailers, they can't give the time and money to make sure each one is working. And then instead of building a business and helping people like you've articulated, you end up fighting fires because you've gone too far too fast. Tracy,
Thank
let's
you.
talk about production.
Yes, absolutely. So, Alexander, talk to our audience about how you chose and what criteria you used in selecting a contract manufacturer.
Great question. We searched long and hard, and it took a year. It took a year. And our contract manufacturer was the right fit because of the quality of the products that they had helped to create. Their attention to science was very big, and their willingness to continue to iterate and not just have a one and done situation. And we know best. It's been incredibly collaborative, and I feel so lucky because we couldn't have released this product if it wasn't quite right. I mean, our flavor profile of our first 3 products is so amazing. I mean, I truly cannot even drink another electrolyte right now because our electrolyte is so natural and our protein is everything is just the consistency and the flavor and the efficacy. We knew that we were not going to just release a product just because. And so we searched and we searched, and you can sometimes just tell right off of the bat if you're going to have a dynamic and collaborative experience. If you have to keep tracking someone down via email, well, that's just not going to be it, right? Like if you have to keep bugging them, that's not somewhere we can grow. Our contract manufacturer also truly believed in this product. They were excited about the space and they wanted to be the first ones to do something like this. And that was exciting to see. We weren't just another cog in the wheel of how their business runs. We really feel like we have true partners.
That's awesome. I love that. Perfect.
So Alexandra, one of the other things that the audience is always interested in is founders and emerging brands' pursuit and need of funding.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can, please tell the audience about, if you've raised money, what you and your team are looking for in investors, or, hey, Bruce, we're not there yet, but this is what we will look for. It's always fascinating to hear how people think through, letting someone else come sit at the table with them, because they're going to have a voice. If they give you $1,
right,
they're going to want to tell you stuff, and you may or may not want to hear it.
So I'm going to say all of the above, all of the things. Are you thinking about raising? Are you not ready yet? Yes to all of them. We have not raised outside capital. So we have invested into the brand through the existing business that I had and reinvested into it. And it has, we've had a nice runway. Our goal is to really get to a place of profit now first. And then with that, we know with larger scale, we will need outside capital. So looking into different ways of funding so that we can deal with larger orders that aren't VC, are not outside capital, and that we can pay back. That's kind of what we're exploring right now. It is very important to me as a physician. And this is why I hope the consumer really does turn to me. It's very important that someone doesn't come in and tell me that we need to widen our margins. You need to take this product out. You need to make this product not GMO because it's too expensive. You need to cut down on the size. You need to compromise your product so for our profits. And that is why we're not raising yet, because we need more power in the company to really maintain that sense of control. Eventually, we will be looking for the right funding partners. And I'm turning down meetings left and right now because this is a very hot space. And I'm just saying we're not ready yet. But organically, when I meet the right person who is interested in eventually investing, I am nurturing some of those relationships. What I want is someone who has the same goal, that we are on a mission to transform the lives of people who are on these medications. And we're trying to create a whole ecosystem of products that support their new life, and that we want to do it with respect and with quality. And that's who I'm looking for in a partner.
Again, you guys are going about it and thinking about it the right way. We've spoken with many emerging brands and investors, and if the alignment isn't correct, if the outcomes and the vision aren't aligned, you're just setting yourself up for a headache or heartache, because a lot of the things you said is where certain investors specialize. They come in and they start ripping the P&L apart, and you're like, that's great, but we're not doing that.
One of the things that I have heard, and came from a mutual friend of ours. She says, as soon as you start that investment, taking those outside dollars, your clock starts ticking about what you can do with the brand. And that's how it works. Like, I really can't look down on that. I can't, of course, people want a return on their investment. And so we just want to get to a place that we can just maintain the integrity of the brand. But it's hard sometimes, because then you look, I'm not like a newbie, I'm not a 22-year-old entrepreneur. And sometimes you see big companies that are much younger, founders, and with a lot less, I think, kind of life experience, taking on these big funding numbers, and they get all this press, and you're like, oh, should I be doing that? And I'm like, no, we're going to stick to our guns here.
I applaud that. I applaud
that's
that.
Smart.
Yeah. So obviously you're new on your entrepreneurial journey in the CPG world. So far, tell our audience what's the best advice you'd give a small emerging brand just starting out.
I think that lean into your expertise and wear it with pride. So whether that's your founder's story, I want to hear, why did you create this brand? And I want it to have clarity. And then that, to me, is a brand worth buying and investing in and following. And that really, make sure you know why you're doing this. I feel like now I can sit in a room with other brands and I can suss out who's just doing this just to make money, rather than people who are here for the journey of it and are really believe in their product. And I feel like you can just quickly, you can feel that, and the authenticity is really important. So I think just know why you're doing this and really lean into it and be proud of it.
Well, it's all about the story. It absolutely
it is.
It's very solid. And the point about, kind of stick to your knitting and do what you're good at, that's solid. Okay. So we're heading rounding third base here, Alexandra. So who's had the greatest influence on your career, and, what did that person, do for you that's really stuck with you over the course of time? And you don't have to name names, but what did that person do for you? You're like, gosh,
well,
why did they take an interest in me when I didn't know anything?
Yeah. There's one person. I have a couple of people come to mind, and they're both doctors on different fronts early on in my education. So Dr. Lou Aroney is one of the earliest obesity medicine doctors, and I was fortunate enough to work with him in medical school, and he opened my eyes to this field. I thank him in the back of my book, because Without that exposure, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. The other person I came along, another doctor who I did a rotation with in medical school, and she thought differently about medicine in a way that I had never seen. And she gave me permission, even at the age of 24, to do things differently. She had written books, she had had a product line, and she was carving out this very unique space in the treatment of dementia and neurology, and she was amazing. And any medical student who rotated with her, she's had a really, really big effect on us. Um, and I thank her because she always planted in my head that you could be different. The majority of medicine is that you need to kind of fit here, do as we say, just do the job, clock in, clock out. And that's how medicine has become. And I'm so thankful that she instilled in me this idea that you can solve bigger problems and thinking about health on a much larger scale and giving me permission to do that. So I think about her often in this journey. And I actually recently just sent her over the book and some products, being like, you did this.
Well, it's always amazing to reflect back on people that have helped all of us over time. You know, it's kind of a teaching culture, no matter what your profession is. You do things wrong and you learn, and you do some things good and you're like, I want more of that and not the
Yeah.
stuff that I screwed up. All right, Tracy.
Absolutely. So I get to ask the fun question today,
Okay.
Alexandra. So tell our audience your favorite football team, brand, or band, and why.
Favorite football team. I am from Delaware, so it's the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go
So go
Eagles.
Eagles.
Yeah.
Although, can I tell you that my husband and co-founder, he is a Dolphins fan and has turned my three sons into Dolphins fans, and it's heartache.
Oh,
I think that just like doubled the amount of Dolphins fans in the country.
yeah.
But we're all in with the Eagles now. And I just answer one of those questions. Or am I supposed to tell you something else?
No,
Nope.
no, that's
Good.
it.
That's perfect.
Okay.
I
I'm
mean,
cheering for the Eagles as well on Sunday. So there you
as
go.
a Panthers fan, the Eagles have won more games in one season than I think we have in the last five put together.
Oh,
So, yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
you're in the same boat with the Dolphins, I
it's
think.
quite dark. So, Alexandra, thank you so much for coming on the show today. People, go on out. Her book is right here, The Ozempic Revolution. Getting kick-ass reviews on Amazon. I'm sure if they sell out, they'll print more for her. And Alex,
Actually, so this is a HarperCollins book. So we're in all bookstores. So go support your local bookstore. It's easy to buy on Amazon, but it's also wonderful to support independent. So a little plug for that.
even better to
Yeah.
support independence. So,
Yes.
Alexandra, if people wanted to get in touch with you or learn more about your product line, what's the best way to do that?
So you can follow me over at social, Alexandra Sowa MD. Our on social, our product line is at Get SoWell. And you can also go to our website at www.getsowell.com.
All right. Well, Dr. Sowa, thank you so much for your time today. All right, Tracy, the big finish. I hope you're loose and ready to close
Alexandra.
hard, baby.
Yeah, Alexandra, thank you so much for joining us. It's very educational, and I know this is going to be a great discussion that our listeners are going to want to listen to. So thanks, audience, for joining us today. Please continue to follow us on Apple Podcast, on iTunes, as well as LinkedIn and Spotify, and also on our new website, www.road2retail.com. And thanks so much.
Good luck out there, folks.
Thanks, guys.